Well, shaking the remote will not help in this situation because the remote's battery is low or totally exhausted. We can confirm by looking here. Well, the car is not even detecting the remote. Let's use another car. Seems like this particular car is the same thing. Remote control, replace battery. I think that's what we're gonna do today. Alright, I have here 5 different automotive remote controls which are from the common brands around here in Malaysia and I guess around the world as well. So let's get into it to change the batteries for all these remote. One thing I want to show here is all the different remotes actually have slightly different method and also they are using different type of batteries. First of all, we have our Malaysian king of the road, Perodua remote control. Perodua currently in the year 2020 owns 49% of the market share in Malaysia. So we must start with one of these. The second one is this one from my old Pajero 4-wheel drive. This is a third-party remote controller. Usually if you change in a car accessory shop or third-party remote, you will get something like this. Third one, this is my old Evo 10 from Mitsubishi. It's the same with the Mitsubishi Pajeros and Tritons of its class. And the fourth one, this is a Nissan X-Trail remote control, which is almost the same as the rest of the Nissan Almeras and even the GTR. And lastly, this is from the BMW 3 Series, which earlier than 2020 models, they are all using the same for even the 5 Series. Okay, let's start off with Perodua first. So what do we do usually is we will check around the remote controller to find like some sort of a notch, because end of the day remote controllers are made to be open, right? See here, that's like this little notch, and for Peroduas this notch is quite large, so you can just pry it open with a huge flat head screwdriver, or I can just use a 10-cent coin to open it up. Just gently place the 10-cent coin in the notch, and then what you need to do is just twist it and the whole cover will pop right open. There. Now you can see the battery clearly so that you won't get the wrong batteries. So this is CR2016 3 volts and it's actually using 2 pieces. I'll explain to you the difference in the batteries and also the different type of batteries after we've gone through all the remotes. So for this particular one, still the same drill. Let's look around for a notch around the casing. So let's go around, and for this particular one, it is a little bit more secured because the opening notch is actually at the keyring. So to remove this, we have to remove the keyring first, and then we can use the 10-cent coin to open up the case. Okay, now we got to it, right? 10-cent coin slides in perfectly, give it a little twist, and now we got it open. It's a little tight because we are opening it for the first time, and I just realized this particular remote is also well sealed with gaskets to prevent water from going in. So what we're gonna do is gently just lift up the pieces around it. Just slowly work your way around from the opening gap, and we got it open. Okay, from the look of it, this is also a CR2016. Okay, lifting up the entire circuit from the casing will make us get to the batteries easier. You can just use the key to push the battery out of the holder. Okay, from the look of it here, it's using 2 pieces of CR2016. Each of these batteries are 3 volt, so which means this remote is a 6 volt battery system. So 2 pieces of 2016. So let's put it aside and let's look at the newer Mitsubishi remote control. This particular one is from the 2008 Mitsubishi Evo 10, and it's also used with the same 2008 Mitsubishi Tritons and some of the 2008 Pajeros as well. So here you can see there's a tiny little notch which our 10-cent coin will not be able to fit in. So for this particular one, we have to use a flathead screwdriver. So I have my multi-tool here with quite a huge flathead screwdriver. Just put it in and turn, and it will pop right open. Here you go. And you can see here the red and grayish lining here is actually a silicone rubber to prevent moisture from going in. My camera is not focusing very well, but you can see here now the battery is CR2032. Slightly different from the 2016. I will explain what are the difference in all these numbers. Now let's jump to this one, which is also another very common model over here in Malaysia. This is the Nissan's remote control. The same with the X-Trail, the Almeras, and some of the newer Nissans all the way to year 2015. So here, what you can see is the notch is actually inside. So you have to remove the key. Well, the key is for emergency use only, and you can see tiny notches on the left and on the right. So just twist carefully, and the same thing as well. The whole case will pop right open. Among the other remotes, this particular one is a little bit interesting because the battery is installed upside down. You can't see the marking of the batteries from this end because we are actually looking at the negative end. So we need to pop the battery right out to get to the positive end and to see the labeling. This one is also a CR2032. I realize for modern Japanese cars, most of them are using this particular battery size, 2032. Now, last but not least, let's look at the BMW's remote control. So this particular one, I have a protective silicone case around it. So we should remove this first. For this particular one, it's a little bit tricky. First, you remove the emergency key, and if you look around in the whole remote control, there's no notch or any visible lining for you to open up. There's one particular thin notch over here which you can actually fit a 10-cent coin. However, please do not do that. That's not the way to open this particular remote control. It took me a while to figure out how, and I thought I can do it this way, but no. The cover for the battery is actually just a tiny thin piece at the back where my sticker is, and to open it requires a little trick. Now, if you see carefully, there's this little hole here which is the same size with the hole for your emergency key. Let me demo to you. So this is where the emergency key sits after you slide it out. Alright, the particular emergency key is the same size with this particular hole. So what you do is you press it down, and after you press it down, you will hear a click and the hatch will open up. You can see here the little tin battery cover hatch is now open up, and that's the battery. Interesting, right? So this particular battery is a big one. It's the first time I'm seeing a CR2450. And I can see that this particular battery is slightly larger comparing to the CR2032 and the 2016. Now, the million-dollar question is, what are the differences in all these CR2 something 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 numbers, right? So when we go and buy batteries, we have to make sure that the size is correct, because end of the day, if you buy a slightly bigger size, you won't be able to fit into your remote. So in this part of the video, I'm showing you how to identify the different coin size batteries. So if you see here, this is the CR2032. The 20 is actually the diameter of the battery, which means 20 millimeters. And the 3.2 is actually the thickness, which is 3.2 mm. Okay, 3.2 mm and not 32 mm. So if we look at this one, which is the 2450, let's take it out and measure it. So the 24 will be the diameter, which means it will be 24 mm. And you can see so much bigger and so much thicker as well. This is the first time I've been seeing such a big coin cell battery, and yep, so you have to remember the BMWs are using this one. But anyway, it's very easy. You can just always Google to see what battery size to get. Okay, now let's just install new batteries to all this remote. So the new 2450, make sure that the direction is correct. So for this particular remote, positive is facing upwards. So for coin cell batteries, we just need to remember those with the markings, the brands, and the wordings. That's the positive end, and it's labeled with a plus, so it's up. And for the cover, just place it back to its original position and firmly press on it to snap on. So now it's back on, and put back the emergency key, and we are done. So for this one, I have a protective silicone jacket, so I just snap it back into position. Make sure that the buttons are working. Yep, I can hear the car locking and unlocking outside. Alright, now let's move on to the Nissan battery. So the Nissan remote, as we remember, when you remove it, it is upside down, which means the positive is facing downwards and you can see only the negative end. So with the new battery, the same thing, flip it over so that you don't see any marking. Snap it into place, and then both the sides just firmly hold them together and it will snap on. So this particular Nissan key, there isn't any silicone jacket around it. There's no waterproof casing. Alright, and it's working. The car is locking and unlocking outside. Put back the emergency key. These days, we seldom use the key because the entire thing is keyless, right? Next is the Mitsubishi, which is also a CR2032. Now, pay attention to this square part. The square part is actually the immobilizer chip. So if you're using another key to start your car, you need to transfer the immobilizer over. So for this part, just gently remove the battery. Okay, positive side is facing upwards. Now slide it to take it out. And the new battery, just make sure that positive is facing upwards. Slide it back into position, and we are done. So if you press on it, now you can see there's the LED indicator showing that the remote is working. This is actually my spare remote. I no longer have this car, but now good to know that it's working, and this remote can actually be sold because it can be duplicated into the new car. Okay, press them together, and this one comes with a silicone seal for waterproofing. So make sure that all the sides are tight and double check with the buttons and they are working. Alright, we have done all these three. Now let's look at the third-party remote control systems. Okay, most of the third-party ones comes in different shapes and sizes. So this particular one is two 2016 batteries. Okay, two pieces of it, which means when they stack up, it's a 6 volt. And 2016, you can see, is so much thinner because it's only 1.6 mm thickness. So two of it actually equals to 32 mm, just like the 2032. However, 2032 is 3 volt and two of these stack up is 6 volts. Alright, so to get this replaced, the same thing as well. You just need to replace them with two 2016. Stack them up together, make sure the polarity is correct, positive face up as per the label here. Push both of them in, and then, well, you can check it by pressing the buttons here. That's the LED indicator and it's working. Okay, So this remote is kind of new, so I don't need to change the battery. I just do the demo to show you. When you put it back, make sure that the buttons are lined up correctly. Okay, so this one has 4 buttons, so make sure that the 4 buttons are facing the right direction. Slide it into this silicone jacket, because this remote, surprisingly cheap remote, but it's still water resistant and dust resistant. So just line up the casing and snap it into place. Make sure you don't accidentally snip the silicone jacket and destroy the waterproofing. Okay, it's still working fine. Now just insert back the keyring and the entire battery change is done. There you go. The keyring provides a secure attachment to the casing. Last but not least, the most famous model in Malaysia, the Perodua. So the Perodua remote controls are generally quite the same among the series, the Perodua, the Alza, and even the Axia. It has a little silicone band there for dust proofing. And this one, you can see here, it's using 2016 and also 2 pieces of 2016. Okay. So to remove it, you can just use a screwdriver to pry it out. Okay, first piece, and that's the second piece. So the same with the third party ones, 2 pieces of 2016, 3 volt each, which means the total is 6 volts. Okay, so to get the replacement, just buy 2 of them. Make sure you stack them up together and insert it back into position. Positive on top and negative below. The label is actually labeled clearly on the clip. The clip says positive. Now after you're done, make sure the buttons are aligned. So for the Perodua ones, it's quite easy to see because the size is slightly bigger at one end. So put it back into position and then just snap the 2 casing together. So this particular one, the keyring did not act as a secure. So what happens here is if this particular remote falls, and then it will just split open. We have changed all the batteries in this remote in less than 10 minutes. However, there's still some tips for you. How to check if your battery is still workable or not. So I have here, this is a battery checker, and you can use it to check like AA, AAA, and for coin cell, you can just put it in this hole. However, for coin cell, this particular checker only checks 1.5 volt. And for 3 volt, of course, it will show almost full because probably it's now at 2 volts, but it detected as more than 1.5 volts. So it show you as full. So the better way to do this is using a multimeter. If you're using a digital multimeter, make sure that you select it to voltage and it is direct current. Alright, the black probe will go to negative and the red probe will go to positive. And look at the reading. So this particular one is just showing 160 millivolt, which means it's even way below 1 volt. So this particular battery is confirmed exhausted. I had to double check a few times to make sure that I'm not reading the wrong thing. Okay, so I was cycling through to AC mode and back to DC mode and double check again, and yeah, it's just way below 200 millivolts. Now let's try with a fresh battery. So a fresh battery will show you 3 volts. One final tip before we go, batteries have expiry dates. So be careful to not use old batteries. Like this particular one is actually expiring in 2020, but I just found it at the bottom of my toolbox. Okay, that's it for today's video. Hope this is informative for you. Please subscribe and watch our other videos. See you next time.